Hello there, Margaret.
Good afternoon, Margie.
How are you today?
I'm well, thank you.
Thank you for coming and giving us your time and sharing with us a little bit about your life and your involvement in our associates program. Tell me a little bit about your life, first of all, a little short summary of where were you born and how did you come to Southern California?
Okay, my short 75 years on the planet?
Yes.
No, okay, the short version is that I was born in St. Louis.
Well, there we go, right away. You're involved with Sisters of St. Louis.
Right, exactly.
St. Louis.
So that fleur-de-lis has been with me all my life because I also lived in a town called Florissant, which fleur-de-lis was their emblem also. So,
Providence.
Yes, it is. And where I was born, we lived in the south part of the city, and it was a German section of the city, and that's my family is of German origins. And so I'm the oldest of 6 children, and there were 5 girls and 1 boy, and the boy's in the middle. And we lived in that area of the city until I was in about the 7th grade. In the 7th grade, then we moved out into the suburbs, and we moved to the northwest of the city. And then in that area, I went to high school and college. And all that time in my education, I had the Sisters of St. Joseph's of Carondelet in my life. So they were in my younger life. And then in college, I majored in dietetics. And to be a member of the Dietetic Association, you have to do a year of internship. And so I applied for that year of internship. And I got it at the West LA VA Center. And the reason I took it is because my aunt and uncle were here at Point Magoo in the Navy. And so I thought I would be in California for a year,
right.
Go back to Missouri, and that would be it. You know, that would be my adventure in California. And so 53 years later, I'm still here in California and enjoying it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I did the internship, and then after the internship, I went to which way?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, after the internship, I went to St. John's Hospital in Santa Monica, and then I worked as a dietitian there for 23 years. And for that time, I was single, and then I met my husband, Bob, and I married, and we had an instant family. There was 3 boys from his first marriage, so Dan and David and Michael came into my life. And we moved out to Westlake Village, where we are now. And in Westlake Village, we've been there for 32 years. And we're in St. Jude's Parish, and many of the associates come from St. Jude's Parish. And so that's been, so after living there for a while, I retired early. And then my mom came out, and I became caregiver for her. And then after that, my husband, Bob, retired 3 years ago, and so now the 2 of us are retirees and are in that same spot.
Yes. When you were in St. John's Hospital, did you ever know any of our sisters there?
That's what, if you ask me the question about how did I get to know the Sisters of St. Louis, that's my answer.
It just dawned on me now.
Yeah,
Another thing is that you were instrumental in my mother's funeral arrangements.
Mm-hmm.
You helped at the cemetery and the funeral for my mother.
Yeah. Actually, it was the first, being in a bereavement ministry, Jean Marie Call, another associate, and myself are in the bereavement ministry, and your mother's funeral was the first one.
Yes.
That after all our training for that, at the gravesite was the first one we ever did.
Yes.
So that was really nice as part of your family. And I remember you saying to us, because we're going, oh, is it okay if we do it, and you saying to us, I do it all the time in Brazil, you know. And so that gave us real encouragement,
Yes.
you know, about doing it. And so that was the first time
And
we
you're
ever
still
did.
doing that
And
today,
still
yes.
doing it today, yeah.
So how did you get to know the Sisters of St.
Well,
Louis?
the first person I met was Sister Greta.
Right.
Greta's last name?
McQuaid.
Sister Greta McQuaid. And she was working at St. John's also. She was a nursing assistant. And I was the registered dietitian, and I had been there for a while. And we met when we both were working on an oncology unit. And so for about 4 or 5 years, I think we were working on that oncology unit at the same time. So she's the only one she's the first one and the only one that I knew for many years. And my remembrance of her is that she was such a gentle, caring caregiver to the patients on that unit. And most of the time when I went on the unit, the people would ask me, is Greta here today?
Yes.
You know, is she going to be my person? Is she going to take care of me? That type of thing. So it was really a warm, welcoming friendship between us, and then also the patients that she took care of, which was really nice. So then...
But this was before any of our sisters were involved in St. Jude's.
Right.
In the Bible classes.
Right,
This was
yeah.
before. So Greta was your first.
So Greta was the first, and then the next occasion where I met any of the sisters was at Greta's funeral.
Right.
So her funeral was, I think, at St. Mel's. No? Wherever her funeral was, I know I came. She was killed in an accident. Car accident. Going back to work after the hospital had been closed after the earthquake. And so then at her funeral I went, and what I remember about that is that the person who spoke of Greta spoke so beautifully of her, you know, and in such a way that it captured what she was and what she did, and her help at the hospital. And then also, the other thing I remember is that's when I met a whole group of Sisters of St. Louis. And so when you meet the whole group, it's a different experience than when you meet one person. And the whole group was very warm, welcoming. And that's one of the things I treasure about all the sisters. No matter what kind of occasion you're at, they warmly greet everyone. It's like no one is left out. So I went to the funeral thinking I won't know anyone, and I felt very warm and welcome. And it was really a celebration of Greta's life. So that was my first experience with the St. Louis sisters.
And then what happened?
Okay, and then moving on about 20 years. Then,
wow.
Wait a minute, is it 20 years?
Wow,
It was probably 1990 to, maybe 10 years later. Sister Antonia was out in our parish at St. Jude's, and she was teaching and facilitating our scripture study class. And so for a number of years before she asked me to be an associate, she was there, and so many of us knew her at St. Jude's through the classes that she taught. And then one day I remember we were going out of the classroom and we were in the parking lot, and she stopped me and she said, "Margaret, I want to ask you something." And I said, "Yes." And she says, "I want to know if you'd like to be a part of a group of the Sisters of St. Louis Associates."
So it was an invitation from Sister Antonia.
Yeah, it was a personal invitation, one-on-one. But and then she says, "I don't have time to tell you now, but next week, if you can stay, I'll give you the whole story about the sisters and why I think you should become a part of the group." And so I thought, okay. And, like, at that time, I had never, ever heard of such a thing as this associates, that there were such a group, a lay group of people that are connected to religious education. Religious orders of women. And so I thought, because in my mind, associates meant priests.
Yes.
So it was like...
associate priest to the parish.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's always associate priest or associate teacher, and they were priests, So I didn't have a sense of them. So then the next week we did meet, and she was explaining to me, the group and the fact that you have a time of formation, and so you can feel comfortable about not saying you have to say yes and jump in. You have a time when you can decide about what was going to happen.
Discernment.
And the one thing she said that stuck with me was that she says, "I think you're a good fit for the group, and the group is a good fit for you." And that really, made me feel like, okay, I really do want to try to see what the associates were like.
Very good. Mm-hmm. So you started by, how did you begin then?
What do you mean?
Who was directing the formation in those days, and did you do anything at St. Jude's, or did you come to
No,
Louisville?
so
or-
then I well, Sister Antonia sponsored me,
Yes.
so she became my sponsor. And then a number of the other people that were at St. Jude's were already associates, and they were in the scripture study class.
Okay.
So they were another support for me coming into the associates.
Someone that you had already,
Yeah,
that you have met.
Jerry and Judy Sullivan and Tom and Jean Marie Call.
So you weren't one of the first
No.
in St. Jude's. There were some others
No,
before
there were some
you. Well,
others.
that helped too.
Yes, it did. It did. I think for me the idea that you have someone first of all, a personal invite is
Yes.
good. And then the second thing is you have someone journeying with you
Yes.
in whatever that, occasion is or whatever that journey is going to be. And that really helped me a lot to know that. So.
And how did that affect your personal life or your ministry at St. Jude's, or how was that? How did you incorporate both of those?
Ministries.
Yes, and your personal life, your husband, did you have to explain it to him? And
Not so much Bob. Bob said it's okay. He's kind of okay with that. Okay, she's going to do that. All right, fine. But some of the other people, they almost have the idea that you're going to become a sister.
I see.
Like, you're going to become a sister? I'm going, no, that's not exactly what an associate is. And at first, I didn't have the words or the knowledge enough to say exactly what associates are going to be doing or what they're like. I said they're connected to the sisters. I know that, and I felt that. That's the way. But so at first it was difficult to kind of get my sense of what it was like. And for me, I think it's the idea that you're journeying with the sisters, and the sisters are journeying with you. And so it's a time when you learn as you go along the journey. And so the sisters learn of us, and we learn of them. And then all the gifts and talents and strengths from each of the groups are put together.
Were you in the bereavement ministry already before
Yes.
the Bible class and
Uh-huh.
introduction with Sister Antonia?
Yes.
And did you have any other spiritual journeying or any spiritual experience, retreats, or were you involved in any other workshops or
Well, for me,
learning some kind of study that you had been in with RCIA or with any of the church? Were there other requirements before you even became into the bereavement ministry that you had gone through? How was, maybe what I'm trying to say, how was your spiritual life and connection with things before you even got this invitation?
So before I got the invitation, I was involved in the bereavement ministry, in scripture study, and Eucharistic minister to the homebound. So those were the three ministries I was involved in. As far as education goes, I think most of the education came through like Religious Education Congress.
Okay,
through
you
local,
participated in those things.
in those types of things.
Yeah.
So those I would say, and then also the things that were going on in the parish. And in our parish, we have a lot going on. In our local area, we have what they call the university, and that has
University series too.
series,
yes.
which is
Wonderful.
12 churches getting together and actually doing the presentations of people from all over the world.
That was a wonderful education. Yes,
it is.
yes.
So I had all that educational backing what ministries I was involved in.
I can see why Sister Antonia said you were a good fit.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Because, a lot of
yeah.
lay people, a lot of families don't have the time to give to their spiritual life and to their church life. So it was an extraordinary thing that you were already involved in so much. For a lot of people, it just go to church and that's it, So
My feeling about that is that you do what you can at the time you can do it. So like for part of that time, I was taking care of my mom.
Right.
So for 10 years, 6 months out of the year, my mom was with us. So at that time, my ministry was taking care of my mom, and it was a caregiving for her. And then as that, when she died, and that was no longer a big part of my life, then the ministries came.
Right.
So, and I really believe that God just puts you in the spot, that where you're needed. If you open your heart to what's going on,
Yes.
you flow into those ministries.
If you respond,
Yes.
the Lord was definitely calling. I'm sure the Lord calls many, many, and people sometimes don't stop or listen or can't hear that. And fortunately, you were able to hear and then respond. That was beautiful. You talked a little bit about some of the qualities of the Sisters of St. Louis. Have you, about warm and welcoming?
Yes.
They were. Are there any other qualities that maybe have attracted you since then?
The first quality of the sisters that really stood out to me was that they were highly educated women, and they were willing to share their knowledge with others. That was strong for me, because you could see that I could see that they were in different areas. That's one of the things I had, at first I had a hard time, because when I thought of a group of sisters, when I was younger, the sisters were all kind of doing the same thing. They were either in education, or they were in hospital care, or something of that kind. And when I got connected with the Sisters of St. Louis, everyone is they're in education, but they're all doing, different things. And so that idea of that they can share as a group, but still have their own talents and gifts, and they share them with others, was very strong and appealing to me.
Yes, not only the formal education of school, academic,
right,
but popular education in different fields of life, in different types of work,
right,
in parish ministry, in ministry to women that were incarcerated, ministry to HIV and AIDS patients, and yes.
That's one of the things I think was powerful, is getting to know the sisters and actually know, like Sister so-and-so, she's out there, teaching third graders, or, Sister so-and-so's in the hospital setting, and just to get that personal experience that they have and share with us, I think is powerful.
Has your commitment as an associate of the Sisters enriched your life and your spirituality?
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes, very much so. Yes.
It shines through you.
Thank you. Yes, it does. I think the enrichment comes, I feel the enrichment is something you can't really define easily, but you know that it's there, and that you may be doing the same things, but you're doing it in a different way. So we may be doing bereavement ministry and helping a family in bereavement, but now we're connected in a way that, the charism, the Sint Unum, is part of what we think about when we do our ministry work. So the bereavement work would be like that.
Is it easy to share about your commitment as an associate with others? Is it an easy thing to, are people interested maybe in hearing a little bit about it, or?
I think probably the majority of my sharing is done with people that are in our parish, and people I come in contact with in the ministries. And so in that area, I'd say yes. In the other area, I don't know. I guess I would say that it would just be what you do naturally, rather than actually speaking about it.
And your commitment has, as you have said, has influenced and enriched your ministry and your life and your spirituality. Has it challenged you? Has it been a challenge for you to do so, or to try to implement the charism in what you do and hear and act on, and your relationships with people and your ministries too?
I think for me, the challenge would be in ministry. Where I've experienced it is carrying on in ministry, because in some of the ministries I've been in, have been a long time, And a lot of times they tell you just to be in a ministry for a short period of time and then do something different, but that hasn't happened. And so I think looking at the charism as something that is a support and a comfort, and it's kept me going in some of the ministries that I've been doing. So in that way, I think it would have been, positive support for me.
Good. Margaret, I noticed that the associates have a special emblem, which is very significant. Could you please tell us a little bit about the emblem and who designed it, and what do some of the symbols actually represent?
The emblem was designed as the associates began to become a part of the group. In the design, they incorporated the fleur-de-lis, which represents the origins of the Sisters of St. Louis in France, and the symbol for that. The circle is that part of the Sint Unum message, and then the three circles are reference to scripture of Micah 6:8, that we act justly, love tenderly, and walk humbly with our God.
And of course, the royal blue is also
Colors.
the colors of our congregation from France, the royal blue. Very nice. And so that was a group decision. You all kind of helped in designing it.
I think they did. This was in place when I became an associate.
Okay.
So I think it would be Sister Laura and the group of first associates that did it.
The membership right now is a good number of associates. And I'm sure you have developed a lot of friendships through the members, having lunch together, usually before your meetings. And is that good? Speak a little bit about that. How is that, getting to know other people from other parts of the Southern California and also other ministries?
For me, the friendships develop, and one of the things that's nice about that is friendships can develop at your own pace, so you can develop them really fast, or it may take a longer time to do that. The friendships with the sisters, I think, come with their attending our meetings, and then also in different occasions when we're celebrating and getting together. And for me, it's been a blessing to know. I can say that I know most of the associates that we have now, and most of the sisters too. And as any group of people, some of them you know better than others, but then you can foster those relationships that you really want to, and which is really nice to be able to do that. And then that sense of knowing the sisters and the associates individually, then you get a sense of the person and what their gifts and talents and treasures are, and how they can relate with you, and how a friendship can develop.
Yeah, it's a wonderful time and opportunity for sharing and for strengthening each other too, and encouraging. How do you feel about the future of the associates here in Southern California? As you know, there are fewer and fewer of us sisters who, first of all, are able to participate, and fewer in number because of old age and death. How do you feel with the associate leadership right now, which is actually in the hands of all of you lay associates?
We are in a transition, a major transition, from the leadership team being both sisters and associates to the leadership team being now driven by the associates. And so looking at the involvement of the sisters being less and our involvement being more, one of our main concerns is that we carry on the charism of the sisters, so that we want to be connected to that even if there aren't sisters here in the United States. We do have a sense of that the Sisters of St. Louis are throughout the world. So we do want to develop and increase that closeness with the people in other parts of the world. And then with the high-tech people that we know, the person behind the camera and others, we can do that and just have a connection with them as far as what will happen in the future. And there's many exciting things to think about, but one of the things I think about is, and I think I've learned this from the sisters, is that when I was working, the way we operated was you had a plan, the plan had a goal, you were headed towards that goal, and you took steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, got to the goal. Since I've been connected with the Sisters of St. Louis, now it's more a sense of a journey and the Spirit guiding us in which way it'll go. And you may not know exactly where you're going to end up and what will happen, but you trust the journey and you trust those who are journeying with you and seeing how that will take place. So I think there's a lot of blessings that'll come from that, which we don't even imagine now. We don't even have a sense of what it will be. But we are gearing towards having that charism carried through, and sisters will be less at the time. Yeah.
Have you been on any of the heritage pilgrimages?
No, but I'm excited. I want to go next year.
Okay, so there have been several.
Yes.
And also trips to the Holy Land.
Yes.
And there is something planned now for 2018.
Yes.
That will be open to the associates, and also an associate leadership meeting.
I was fortunate to be a part of the Associate International Leadership team in 2008.
Yes.
And it was wonderful. It was really positive, getting to know others and sharing what we do in each of the different areas. It was very positive.
That was in Loyola Marymount.
Yes, that was here. So now this time they're going to have it in France. And so...
In Paris, actually.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm anxious to go. And then also, you too, Margie too. Right? And then to go on to the Heritage Pilgrimage, because the people who have gone on the Heritage Pilgrimage before have said, what a blessing it is. And it really fleshes out all the information we have about the founders and how we can carry through the different things that have happened in times before us. I just finished reading Louise Human's the book about her.
By Maureen Barrett.
Barrett, yeah. And it's a beautiful sense of history, but also a sense of how one woman who didn't, her life didn't go as she planned.
No. It was a trusting journey for sure.
Yes, and it went from, she wanted to be a sister, that didn't happen. She moved on to be an educator. She knew what was happening in her time, and she wanted to educate the young ladies of her time. She went on to that. She had successes. She had troubles. She had worries.
Very
Schools open.
Human story. Very human story.
And just carrying that through to, she became the spiritual mother of the founders of the Sisters of St. Louis, and so that whole journey reminds me that you should be open to the Spirit moving wherever it might be.
So in your formation, besides the history and the heritage that you have studied, you could also say that the story of the founding of our congregation was most encouraging, most inspiring.
Yes, definitely.
And that definitely helps also.
Yes.
And how God, as they say, God writes straight with crooked lines, and there were certainly a lot of crooked lines.
Yes.
Well, thank you very, very much for your time, Margaret, and we thank you for your participation with us in the program, the associate program, and with your wonderful enlightened spirit and trust in the Lord, that will shine, and you will be able to share your joy in the Lord and your joy in becoming a Sister of St. Louis associate to many, many others.
Thank you.
Thank you
My
very,
joy.
very much.
Okay.